Howdy partners, and UPIA. It's first, thank you very much for watching all the videos. It's taken me by surprise really. They were just for my own amusement, but I'm afraid to say it's made me somewhat vain. But anyway, what's to be done about that? Now today's video, but thank you very much, and especially Mark in Australia. I've watched your videos so many times, and I'm glad you've got your car on the freeway doing a decent speed. It's a good feeling. And I've got a friend Reg in Australia. Best wishes to you as well, especially for letting me drive your car as well. But today I've got quite a few different things, because I'm not just X19 and that's it. You might have seen my guitar videos, and anyway. Let's get to first thing. Silicone brake fluid, and it all comes together. You'll see at the end. I've read some strange things people have said about silicone brake fluid. Now, for many years I taught science, physics, a tiny amount of chemistry, and computers, all sorts of things. And I know that a liquid is not compressible, and yet people say they get the idea that silicone, most people only see silicone on a handle or a piece of rubber or something, and that's one of its forms. But don't forget silica, glass, it's the same sort of the same element. And people say, oh no, you can't put silicone fluid in your car, the brakes won't work, it'll be spongy. And it's not spongy. I got the stuff I used here. This is Automet SPF, and you can see some overspray, and it says here it's a proper DOT5 fluid, and you can't call it a DOT fluid without it being able to work. Made in America. It's got a boiling point here much higher than DOT4 and that, at 500 degrees centigrade, 260 centigrade. But the main thing is, because it's silicon and not glycol like they used in the Spitfire radiators in the Second World War, and also in German white wine. I shouldn't have said that, should I? But they did. So that shows that absorbs water. But this doesn't, or minimal amount, which means that if you take the trouble to put this stuff in, and it's not hard to do really, then you don't have to keep checking it. And the reason cars have DOT4 fluid in is because it makes them brake. You look at Henry Ford and Rover and all those, British Leyland I should say, and they would use the cheapest materials usually in their cars that they possibly could. You look at old brake lines made out of some sort of steel that would definitely rust, and of course you put proper copper pipes or one of those in your car now, and stainless steel exhausts and that. But the manufacturers put the cheapest stuff in so that they can make the biggest profit, because it is a business, of course, and also they like things to go wrong. Brake systems were always going wrong because of the water absorbed by the DOT4 fluids, which will corrode it. And the bleed screws, when you come to undo those, they're made out of some Mazak or alloy or something, and they snap off, and then you've got to take it to a mechanic, and everybody gets wealthy, and you start lose your hair like me. So I've got brass bleed nipples in mine, which I get from the place in this Auto Sport, whatever it's called, Eurosport. That's it. So don't be afraid to try these things. And I must admit, even though I knew that it was a proper fluid, I tried it in the clutch first in the car, and it works perfectly. And then I put it in the brakes, and I'm very happy with it. And I don't have to worry that there's going to be corrosion going into the wheels, into the brake cylinders, and causing corrosion on the pistons and rotting out the pipes from within. So that's the first thing. I really do recommend this. The next thing is, Mark, in Australia, you were doing those wheel trims for the centre hubs of the 3-spoke magnesium wheels, and I lost one of those, and you can't buy them, and they were only a cheap pressing. So I made my own, and I did talk about it, but I thought I'd show you how I did it. I start off with one of these, not this actual one. It was slightly bigger, but I'd looked around for something that would fit and that had a sort of elasticity to it into the orifice where the wheel trim comes out. And that, not this particular one, but one next up, fitted in snugly. So I thought, well, how can I attach a disc to it? So here's what I did. Here's the one I made. And you can see it's got the plant pot edge, and then I cut around where that mark is there, and all of it was a black one that fitted. And then they get bent in, as you can see. And I got 2 discs of aluminium, which I just got from the hardware store, cut them out with tin snips, araldited or some good glue, araldited them together, and you can see how that fits just between it. And I got, there was somebody, I think, what's it called? It'll come to me in a minute. There was a company in Britain that prints out metallic stickers, and you can have anything you want. I just chose that one because they had it. Stick that on it. And it's at least as good as the Fiat one, which just had Fiat stamped into it. Ding Dong, I think it was Leslie for Ding Dong, I say. Oh, no. But that's they're the company that did it. But it's just 2 sheets of aluminium, and you can see those little tags go into there, and that's fine. And they don't come off, and they pop on, and if it breaks, big deal, I can make another one. The next thing you probably, I remember telling you about the ignition system, and you can get all sorts of Bosch systems and that, but look, here's the little switch that you can get, about £20. It's got the 4 tags, got a metal back, it's got the heat paste there like you have on computer chips, and you can buy 2 or 3 in case anything goes wrong. And I showed you where to put it in a nice cool part of the engine on a big thick piece of aluminium to be a heat sink, just like you would with computers. And I've had that in for a year now, and touch wood, it starts up just like that, providing I pump the accelerator and make sure there's petrol in there. But it gives a much more torquey engine, especially at low revs, and it idles much better. I'd never go back to points. I thought points were the thing. People said, oh, you get these electronic things and they wear out and that's it, and you're left stranded. Well, you just have one of these with you, and it's much easier than doing points and having to reset the gap and then messing about with the timing if you drop the screw in it like I did and have to take the distributor out and put it back again. These are all things I've learned to do, but I'd rather not have known. So these are generic. You see them for all sorts of cars, but like I say, they're only about £20 each. Sometimes they have a sticker on. You can see where it could fit, saying it is fantastic or something, but I think they're all the same part. So that's a useful thing. And then, the Foy car show is on the internet now. There are 2 views of it, one from ground level and one from above, and you see the cars going through. And you may wonder why I go on about Alvis. Well, it's because of Alvis that I bought an X19. When I was a young man, I saw the Rover Alvis car, which I'll show you a picture of here in my Rover book. And you see that there are similarities between that and the X19. I don't know which came first. I think the X19, or at least I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute, but you can see the similar shape, and I always wanted one of these, but of course there's only one, and that's at the Gaydon Museum up near Birmingham. There it is again, I had my fingers in the way, and of course it's got the lovely big V8 in the back, and this was the prototype, and you can see underneath what they were going to do. But that was Alvis working with Rover. Rover took over Alvis, and both excellent engineering companies. So that's why I keep talking about Alvis. That got me interested in Alvis cars, and that's what I would have really liked, which leads on to the Mustang One. Now, you know that Mustang, the Tang, the car, has those like little air vents moulded into the side by the rear wheel arch, and they don't do anything. But if you look on the internet, you'll see the Mustang One. And that is, for all intents and purposes, how the X19 started. You look at it, it's got a V4 motor in the back, just where our 4-cylinder one is. It's got the same styling, the same everything. They only made one of them. It was a brilliant car, drove well, the Mustang One. And I don't know why they didn't make it. Perhaps it was too adventurous. But so they put the scoops from that, which we needed on our cars, and it needed, on the Mustang, the pony car as they call it, and that lived on. So you might be interested to have a look at that. It certainly opened my eyes. I thought that the Bertone design was something quite separate, but you look at the Mustang One and all these designers see what everybody else is doing. So I think that's where it came from. The next thing is completely nothing to do with cars, but I've got lots of interests, and one of them is aircraft, anything to do with the aviation. And I like building them. And this is, I don't know whether you'll be interested in this, but I'll be reasonably quick. It's an aircraft called the SE2. You might have heard of the SE5, the Sopwith Camel, but the SE5 was later than this. This is the SE2, a very pretty little biplane from about 1913, and I wanted one. And you can't buy one, and there was only one made, the actual aircraft. I don't think anybody's made a kit, so you might be interested, and I'll be short on this. Here's what I've done so far. This is my fuselage that I've made, and I've made the wing ribs and the tailplane and the fin and all the rest of it. It's curved balsa wood and laminated nose block, but you can make something three-dimensional out of just a wish. That's the thing, out of a wish. I wanted it. I thought, how can I have it? You can't buy one, so I'll make it. So what you do is, again briefly, you look at the size of the drawing, and this is a photocopy of one from a book, and you scale it up. And in this case, it's scaled up by 7.38. You work out the wingspan of the model you want. It's going to be 17 inches. Take that dimension there, divide the two together, and you come out with a ratio, which in this case is 7.38. And you do a drawing, and everything is 7.38 times as big as the measurement of this. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I brought you can see the tail plate, the fin, but just ordinary paper. But I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but you can see that the lines I've drawn. And I do like technical drawing and draftsmanship, but and it's useful when you're working on the car if you need to have anything made. But just using a little bit of maths and that, and it's costing me nothing. That's that being a Yorkshireman. It's costing me nothing, and it gives me a lot of pleasure listening to the old radios. And the wingtips, as you can see, are round. And you see on the kits and that they have bits of wood stuck next to each other to give it an approximate, and then you smooth it. But there's a much better way called laminating. And here is a laminated wingtip, and it's a piece of wood, or well, you can't have one piece of wood and go around, so it's three very thin, 1/32 inch thickness strips of balsa wood, and you wet them, and then the middle one you have a bit of glue either side, and you pin them round a shape that you make. That's it, that I drew myself. Pin it round on the board, and you have little blocks of wood holding it in position. Leave it overnight, and the next day you've got a lovely laminated, which makes it light wingtip. And then coming up to the last thing, and I don't know what you're going to think of this. This is personal, really. Because I've got old, I find the world not a confusing, but it's not like it was when I was a child in '53, just after the war. People had a shared sort of thing, and the world now believes in all sorts of things. And I'm not sure that a lot of them are true. So I've done some reading on philosophy. Philosophy? X19? Well, never mind. Some of you might be interested. And John Gray, a Yorkshireman, or at least from the north, a brilliant philosopher, I think. And there's The Soul of the Marionette, and he did one on the philosopher, something about cats anyway. But he's an original thinker. I heard him on Radio 4 one night. And he's not like anybody else that just goes along with the mainstream. He dares to be different, but there's a photo of him. But he's worth reading a little bit about, or at least having a look at his YouTube videos. And then with science, I can't understand the way science has gone these days. It used to be when I taught science, you had a hypothesis, you tested it, and you came up with observations that proved or disproved your hypothesis, and this is how Newton got universal laws. But now it just seems to be computer modelling and probability, like your brakes are fixed, sort of. That's probability. I want to know that they're actually fixed with some universal law, like the dot 5, that's been tested. But I don't know, I didn't know that there were competing forms of philosophy of science. There's a person in America, dead now, called Thomas Kuhn, C-U-H-N, and his philosophy was probability, and that seems to be the way science is done these days. Well, we start off with an idea, and then we look for ideas to make that look good, but that might be wrong. But the one I think is the best is Karl Popper. You might not have come across his name, but he's sensible, is Karl Popper. Wrote in German, there's a translation, somebody telling me about him, but this suits me. Anyway, they're two things, but like I say, I'm not just X19, there's the aircraft, the Albuses and the rest of it. But no women are watching this channel. I've looked at my analytics, lots of people, younger than me, some of them, but no women. Now, if any of you in the comments can think of a reason that women aren't watching this channel, I mean, there's no reason they should, but it would be nice if one. So if you're a woman and watching this channel, you know, I'm not being funny or something like that, but it would be just nice to know. Anyway, this is a little funny sort. Of course, I can't keep doing things about the X19. That's impossible. It's running, touch wood, pretty well. But anyway, if any of you got any thoughts or comments about this other stuff, the Karl Popper and the John Gray and the model aircraft, give us a comment. But anyway, I hope you're all doing well and living happy lives. See you later. How do I switch it off? It's so complex. Oh, it is the red button.